there exists within your personal landscape of the heart that has been carved by the storms of yesteryear, where trust has become a precious commodity, hoarded and protected like the last ember of a dying fire. Their soul carries the weight of lessons learned through pain, through moments when vulnerability was met not with tenderness but with the sharp edge of betrayal. Life, in its sometimes merciless way, has taught them that to open one's heart completely is to risk having it shattered into fragments that may never quite fit together the same way again. This deep-seated wariness didn't appear overnight like morning frost on autumn leaves. No, it was cultivated through years of disappointment, through promises broken and trust misplaced, through the gradual understanding that the world can be harsh to those who love too freely. Because of these experiences, etched into the very fabric of their being, they find themselves trapped in a paradox of longing and fear. They yearn for connection, for the warmth of true intimacy, yet they struggle to lower the walls they've built around their heart, even when standing before someone they cherish deeply. In your case, this manifests as an almost desperate need to understand every corner of your inner world, every thought that dances through your mind, every emotion that colors your days, every movement of your soul. It's not born from a lack of trust in who you are as a person, but rather from a primal fear that has taken root in the depths of their psyche. The fear whispers to them in the quiet hours, telling them that only through complete knowledge, only through understanding every facet of your being, can they protect themselves from the agony of abandonment. They've learned to equate information with safety, control with love, vigilance with protection. In their wounded wisdom, they believe that if they can map the territory of your heart completely, if they can predict every twist and turn of your emotional landscape, then perhaps they can prevent the devastating surprise of loss that has haunted them before. It's a survival mechanism born from trauma, a coping strategy that once served to shield them from further harm. Yet here lies the beautiful complexity of your connection. Despite the differences in how you express love, despite the contrasts in your emotional languages, you both share something profound and unshakable at your core. Honesty flows through both your veins like a sacred river, never muddied by deception or manipulation. Loyalty stands as a pillar in both your hearts, unwavering even in the face of difficulty. Love, in its purest form, radiates from both your souls, and commitment runs deep in the soil of your beings like the roots of ancient trees. But love, like a river, can take many different courses as it flows toward the sea. Your personalities, shaped by your unique journeys through life, express this shared love in vastly different ways. Where you might need the spaciousness of solitude to recharge your spirit, to breathe freely and find your center, they often crave the closeness of connection, the reassurance of presence, the validation that comes from knowing they matter deeply to someone. You require independence like a bird requires the vast expanse of sky, needing the freedom to soar and explore the territories of your own soul. They, in contrast, often seek the safety of togetherness, the comfort of knowing that love is not just felt but actively demonstrated through proximity and attention. This fundamental difference in your love languages has created friction between your hearts, like two beautiful songs played in different keys, both melodious on their own but creating discord when played together. Your person, in their fear-driven urgency to feel secure, has sometimes failed to see the sacred boundaries that define your sense of self. There have been moments, painful in their intensity, when their terror of losing you caused them to cross lines that should have remained untouched, to push into spaces where they weren't invited, to demand access to parts of your soul that you needed to keep private for your own well-being. In their desperation to feel connected, they sometimes forgot that true intimacy cannot be forced, that genuine closeness blossoms only in the garden of mutual respect. They didn't always understand that love without regard for one's autonomy can transform from a blessing into a suffocating presence, like ivy that, in its eagerness to embrace, can sometimes strangle the very tree it seeks to love. In their frantic attempts to feel secure in your affection, they occasionally lost sight of the truth that real connection requires trust as its foundation, not the illusion of control that comes from knowing every detail of another's inner world. The realization of this truth wasn't immediate. Like dawn breaking slowly over a landscape shrouded in morning mist, their understanding has come gradually, piece by piece, moment by moment. They're beginning to see how their actions, born from fear rather than malice, may have caused you to retreat into yourself, to pull back from the very connection they were so desperately trying to preserve. The irony is not lost on them now, this understanding that their attempts to hold you closer may have been the very thing that pushed you away. The thought of losing you, of watching you slip away like sand through desperate fingers, terrifies them in ways they struggle to articulate. You are not just another person in their life story, you are someone who saw past their walls, who looked into their eyes and somehow perceived their true essence despite all the armor they wear. You accepted them not just in their moments of strength and charm, but also in their vulnerability, in their brokenness, in the raw and unpolished parts of themselves that they usually keep hidden from the world. This acceptance, the seeing of their authentic self, is rarer than precious gemstones in their experience. To find someone who could love them not for their potential or their performance, but for the complex, imperfect, beautifully human being they actually are, feels like a miracle they never expected to receive. The possibility of losing this gift, of returning to a world where they must constantly perform and pretend, where they must keep their true self locked away behind walls of protection, is a prospect that fills them with a bone-deep terror that keeps them awake in the darkest hours of night. This fear, more than any other force in their universe, has awakened within them a profound sense of urgency, a desperate need to act before the distance between your hearts grows so vast that no bridge could span it. They don't want to stand on the shore of regret, watching the ship of your love disappear over the horizon while they remain paralyzed by their own inability to change. They recognize now that they've made mistakes, that their fear has led them to behave in ways that caused harm rather than healing, and they're determined to transform themselves, to become worthy of the love you've offered so freely. Lately, they find themselves caught in an endless loop of memory, like a record player with a needle that keeps returning to the same beloved song. The moments you shared together have become a sanctuary in their mind, a sacred space they retreat to when the present feels too heavy to bear. They remember your laughter, bright and genuine, filling rooms with warmth. They recall the small gestures of care you offered without fanfare, the way you would notice when they were struggling and offer comfort without being asked, the quiet understanding that passed between you in moments when words weren't necessary. These memories have become both their comfort and their torment, reminding them of what they once held in their hands and what they fear they may have lost through their own actions. They still keep photographs of you, treasured relics tucked away in places they visit often, like a shrine to what once was and what they pray might still be. Each time they look upon your face in those captured moments, they're flooded with a complex mixture of emotions, the warmth of remembered joy, the sharp ache of current separation, the desperate hope that this isn't the end of your story together. You have become a constant presence in their thoughts, woven into the fabric of their daily consciousness like a golden thread running through a tapestry. Whether they're moving through the routine tasks of their day or lying in the profound silence of midnight, you find your way into their awareness. Sometimes your memory arrives as a gentle whisper, a soft reminder of your smile or the sound of your voice. Other times it crashes over them like a wave, sudden and overwhelming, filling them with such intense longing that they must stop whatever they're doing and simply breathe through the magnitude of their feelings. The night hours are particularly difficult, when the world grows quiet and there are no distractions to keep their heart occupied with other concerns. In those still, sacred hours of darkness, your absence feels most pronounced, like a chord missing from a symphony, creating a silence that seems to echo with everything unspoken between you. It's during these times that their mind inevitably drifts back to the golden days you shared, and they find themselves wondering how something so beautiful could have unraveled, questioning every decision that led to this painful distance, searching for the key that might unlock the door back to your heart. More than anything else in this world, they want to reach out to you, to bridge the chasm that has opened between your souls with honest conversation and vulnerable truth-telling. The silence that stretches between you now feels heavy with unspoken words, thick with emotions that have no outlet, pregnant with possibilities that remain unexplored. But they're beginning to understand something important, something that speaks to their growing wisdom and emotional maturity. They recognize now that you didn't choose silence out of indifference or cruelty. Your withdrawal wasn't an act of punishment or a game designed to cause them pain. Instead, they see that you stepped back because you understood something vital about the nature of love and relationships, that true love cannot flourish in soil where boundaries are trampled, where one person's need for security overrides another person's need for autonomy and respect. You learned, perhaps through painful experience, that accepting someone completely doesn't mean allowing them to disregard your needs, to ignore your boundaries, or to treat your emotional well-being as secondary to their own fears. You discovered that loving someone fully doesn't require you to sacrifice your own peace of mind, your own sense of self, or your own need for emotional safety. Your silence became your way of reclaiming your voice, of asserting your worth, of drawing a line in the sand that said, "I am worthy of respect, and I will not accept less than I deserve." Although your withdrawal caused them deep pain, like a wound that throbs with each heartbeat, it also served as a wake-up call that pierced through the fog of their fear-driven behavior. Your silence spoke louder than any words could have, communicating clearly that something fundamental needed to change if your love was to survive and thrive. Now, transformed by this difficult but necessary lesson, they're ready to approach you differently. They don't want to have a conversation designed to justify their past actions or to convince you that their behavior was somehow acceptable. Instead, they're prepared to engage in the vulnerable work of true understanding, to listen with their whole being to your experience, to acknowledge the pain they caused, and to work together toward healing and growth. They want to clear away the fog of confusion that has clouded your connection, to tear down the walls of misunderstanding that have been built up through months of miscommunication and hurt feelings. For the first time in a very long time, perhaps for the first time in their entire life, they're not focused on being right or winning an argument. They're not concerned with protecting their ego or defending their actions. Instead, their entire being is oriented toward healing, toward genuine connection, toward the sacred work of rebuilding trust and intimacy on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. This isn't simply about fixing a relationship that has been broken, like mending a vase that has fallen and shattered. This is about something far more profound and transformative. They want to rebuild your connection from the ground up, using the wisdom you've both gained through this painful experience to create something even stronger and more beautiful than what existed before. They envision a relationship where mutual respect isn't just an ideal but a lived reality, where emotional safety is the bedrock upon which all other aspects of your love can flourish. There's a song that captures the essence of what they're feeling, a melody that seems to have been written specifically for this moment in their spiritual journey. It reflects both the innocence of your early love, when everything felt possible and pure, and the ache of regret that comes with the recognition of mistakes made and opportunities missed. The song mirrors the complete emotional spectrum of your relationship, from the highest highs of connection and joy to the lowest lows of separation and sorrow. In their eyes, you were perfect in your own unique way, not because you were without flaws or challenges, but because your flaws were part of what made you beautifully, authentically human. They loved you not in spite of your imperfections but because of the complete package of who you are, your strengths and your vulnerabilities, your light and your shadows, your confidence and your insecurities. They're beginning to understand how rare and precious this kind of acceptance truly is, how uncommon it is to find someone who sees all of you and chooses to stay. They're holding on to hope with both hands now, like someone grasping a lifeline in stormy seas. They believe, with every fiber of their being, that it's not too late to rewrite your story together, to transform the pain of this separation into the catalyst for deeper growth and more authentic love. They envision a future where the lessons learned through this difficult period become the foundation for something even more meaningful and beautiful than what you shared before. Ultimately, your person's heart is a complex landscape of longing, remorse, and unwavering love. They're not perfect, and they don't claim to be. They're simply human, beautifully and imperfectly human, but they're learning and growing in ways that perhaps they never have before. Through losing you, or coming close to losing you, they're discovering truths about love that they never understood before. They're realizing that real love isn't about possession, about owning another person or controlling their every move. True love is about presence, about showing up fully and authentically in each moment. It's about patience, about allowing love to unfold in its own timing rather than forcing it to conform to their fears and insecurities. Most importantly, they're learning that love requires respect, not just for the person you claim to love, but for their autonomy, their boundaries, their needs, and their sacred right to be themselves fully. Whether or not you choose to give them another chance, whether you decide to open your heart once more to the possibility of renewed love, they will carry the lessons from this relationship with them for the rest of their days. In that way, regardless of what the future holds, you've already given them an invaluable gift. You've helped them heal and grow in ways that will make them a better person, a better partner, a more conscious and loving human being. Every love song that plays on the radio now serves as a reminder of what you once shared, as if the universe itself has conspired to keep your memory alive in their consciousness. Music has become a bittersweet companion, no longer something they can experience casually or unconsciously. Each melody carries the weight of memory, each lyric a doorway back to moments when you were together. They've created a playlist of all the songs you shared, those musical threads that once wove your hearts together in harmony. Every track is a time machine, capable of transporting them instantly back to your presence, back to moments when the world felt aligned and love seemed effortless. Those songs that once made you both smile, dance with abandon, laugh until your sides hurt, and sometimes even cry together in the beautiful vulnerability of shared emotion, now exist as both treasure and torture. Each lyric holds a memory suspended in time like an insect in amber, perfect and untouchable. When they hear those melodies, they're suddenly back in your arms, feeling once again like the world made complete and perfect sense. Music was your shared language, your way of communicating things that words couldn't adequately express, your unspoken connection that transcended ordinary conversation. Now that music feels like an echo reverberating through empty chambers of their heart, haunting in its beauty, magnificent in its melancholy. Their mind has become a constant theater where thoughts of you play on an endless loop. No matter how busy their days become, no matter what activities they use to try to distract themselves from the ache of your absence, you still find a way into their consciousness like sunlight streaming through cracks in drawn curtains. From the moment they wake until they finally surrender to sleep, and even in their dreams, you're there. It's not always sadness that accompanies these thoughts, though sorrow certainly has its place in the complex symphony of their emotions. Sometimes it's pure longing, a deep yearning that seems to emanate from the very core of their being. Sometimes it's regret, sharp and immediate, for words unsaid and actions undone. And sometimes it's simply the quiet, profound realization that you're the one they want standing beside them through everything life might bring, the person they want to share not just the dramatic moments but all the ordinary, everyday experiences that somehow become extraordinary when witnessed by someone who truly sees you. Not a single day passes without you appearing in their thoughts in some form. You've become integrated into their very being in ways they didn't even recognize until the distance between you began to grow and they could feel your absence like a phantom limb, still sensed but no longer there to touch. They dream of a new life, a fresh beginning where past mistakes don't define the future, where growth and understanding can pave the way for something beautiful and lasting. But more than anything else, they want that new life to include you. They can't imagine building a future that doesn't have you as an integral part of its foundation. They want to wake up next to you, to build dreams together like architects of possibility, to share the ordinary moments that become extraordinary simply because you're present to witness and experience them together.